Hey guys, this is SF, and if you haven't noticed on their official Striker News video, Kindred Kingdoms is coming up very soon on July the 18th, and it is featuring the three kingdom figures and historical characters. So there are three Hatcher monsters, three 5-star Hatcher monsters, two 4-star Hatcher monsters, and then there's two extremes, just like any other old Hatcher. So I'll be writing them down one by one. First up, starting off with Chao. Chao, let's look at the evolved form. Samurai, all these monsters are samurai, all the Hatcher monsters, and most of the extreme monsters are Hatchers. Are samurais. Balance type, bounce, shield breaker, and gauge shot of no warp. Strike shot is a speed up, and then lock on poison shockwave 6 or poison lock on shockwave 6. I don't know, but that's pretty much it. Uses for her, it is a her. Not much, in my opinion. I think don't really remember any monsters with scorpions that have no warps in them, especially no warps and shield breakers. So pretty good for clearing scorpions, but I'm not really sure. Don't really remember any no warp dungeons that have warps and poison and have scorpions, warps, and shields at the same time. So as a shield breaker, she's not bad. As a no warp character, she's not bad either. But to make a full use, a dungeon for her full kit, I don't think there is any for extremes, especially not impossible dungeons, of course. So she's kind of like a really wide range of extreme dungeons, but it is there's no one specific niche pick for her. Next up is Huang Zhong. I'm sorry if I butcher his name. Samurai, blast type, and then bounce, minesweeper for ability, gauge shot of no gravity barrier. Strike shot is a giant homing with a giant laser with homing, so like teeny strike shot. And then bump combo is homing piercer 6, and it is blast, so he is a blast type, so it is more powerful than the regular homing piercer, but not as much as the extreme as the 6-star monsters, because there is less homing piercers. But his main use is Death Coil. There are mines, and there is gravity barriers as well, and also slash. But one thing I really need to know is that his speed is relatively slow, especially for a bounce monster, and of course a pierce monster as well, even though he's not pierced, but under 300, and so it's really hard to sweep mines. But he is very usable for Death Coil. If you're starting out, use him for Death Coil, and Death Coil, you can use Death Coil in a lot of other extreme dungeons because he's a very good monster to have. And for slash, if you don't have a minesweeper no gravity barrier monster, then, or a flight no gravity barrier monster, then he is not bad, because his homing piercing can deal with the minions on the corners as well. And you can avoid, HP doesn't really matter in that dungeon as long as you avoid the attacks from slash himself, so it's not that bad. But he's not the best, of course. He is a 5-star monster. There are better 6-star monsters out there, but if you really don't have a minesweeper or a flight monster that you need to fill up a last slot, then this guy is very good. Okay, now let's go for the 5-star Hatcher monsters, starting off with Zhang Fei. Let's look at the evolved form. Samurai, bounce, speed type, minesweeper ability, gauge shot of no warp. Strike shot is a wall bouncing strike shot, just like Hunter King and Saigo Takamori, and then vertical laser L for the bump combo. She is a she, I'm sorry. Well, actually, let's look at the Ascend version first, and then I'll talk about the both forms. Samurai, bounce, blast type, and then ability of no damage wall. And his strike shot is a giant laser with homing, and then vertical laser L for the bump combo, of course powered up from compared to the evolved form, 17k compared to 12k. And then energy circle S. My advice is, of course, evolve, just because there's dungeon flexibility in there. If you really need a no damage wall monster, then I guess go for the Ascend, but That's if you're really out of options. If your box has like 0 to like 0 no damage wall monsters, including farm wolves. There are some farm wolves like vanilla that's relatively on the same level as the Ascend version of Zhang Fei. Who else is there? Who else is Yeti is also on that same level. So if you really have no damage wall monsters, then go for the Ascend. But it is harder to ascend Zhang Fei, so Evolve is a lot better as well. So her uses in terms of impossible dungeons, it is Daigokuten, which is the latest like impossible. She is top 5 in my opinion. Top 5 pick. There are some better ones, but like Loli, Kushinada, and Benkei there, but she is not bad. She also one of the few Minesweeper no warp monsters in the game in NA, so she is the third one in terms of NA, besides Kali and then Lolity. So if you're having trouble with Great Alien, then she is a good pick. If you're having trouble with Yeti, she is also a good pick for that dungeon. She's also a good pick for the Wood Extreme for this series called Zhang Jiao. And also she's not that bad for Gigamantis as well if you really need a fire Minesweeper monster. There are gravity barriers in that dungeon, but there are some tight corners where you can just position her and then use her strike shot and just blow up Gigamantis. Next up is Guan Yu. Let's look at the evolve. Samurai bounce, speed, ability of no damage wall. Strike shot is same thing as Cleopatra, so knock up all the enemies that he gets in contact with. Bump combo is cross laser out. Let's look at the Ascend version. Samurai bounce, balance type, ability of no damage wall, and then gauge shot of Mech Slayer. Strike shot is Harley X strike shot, the normal evolved form Harley X strike shot, so an AoE blast. And then bump combo is a Giga Blast, and then Homing Pierce 4 for the bump combo. Now, I do recommend Ascend version. If you want a better the better no damage wall monster, I think. Let me kind of check here, but I think this Guan Yu is a better no damage wall monster. But in terms of impossible, and there is an impossible dungeon for him, Ascend version, and he's not a bad no damage wall monster himself in this sense either. But he is mainly used for Ashura, which is the impossible dungeon after Tsukuyomi. He is, my opinion, top 2. It really depends on either him or Uesugi Kenshin in that sense. I think Guan Yu is a little bit more valuable than Kenshin because Guan Yu does deal more damage, in average more damage than Ashura because of his strike shot, and of course the blast bump can proc all your other allies in that dungeon as well. So that's his main use. That is like his main use. If you have like other water no damage wall monsters, then I wouldn't really recommend him, especially well, I still recommend him, but he's not that high in terms of water no damage wall monsters, but he is a very good pick. I have him in JP, so if I ever run into Asha, then I'll use him and then I'll show you how he works. But this guy is really good, but in terms of outside of Asha, he's not that great. He is a solid monster overall, but there are better ones out there, especially in the no damage wall category. Water no damage wall monsters, maybe he's still like top 3-ish, but not like really top tier in that sense. Next up is Liu Bei. Let's look at the evolve form. Samurai, speed, pierce monster, no warp, and a gauge shot of debuff recovery. That might not be the real name in the NA version. That's just me just translating it that way. Strike shot is same as Marie Antoinette or Harley, normal Harley, where he deals great damage when he passes, where he attacks the weak spot, and homing 18 for the bump combo. And then looking at the Ascend version, Samurai bounce balance type, ability of no warp and engage shot of no gravity barrier. Strike shot is a command strike shot. You have to hit monsters. It's not like Kushinada strike shot. And then bump combo is homing 18, and then close proximity spread shot 9. So same thing as the sub bump combo as Sada Yukimura. So I do recommend the Ascend version, but I kind of want to talk about the Evolve version, especially about the new ability of the debuff recovery. So what it does is any monster he hits during his shot, and if they're debuffed, so it's attack debuff, speed debuff, and then ability lock, which you'll see in Zhang Jiao stage, and then who else is there? And then what else is there? And poison. So either of these four, if any of your ally monsters are debuffed with this, any of these four debuffs, then he can recover them with his gauge shot ability, and he is a pierce, so it's really easy to hit monsters with. But outside of that, that's his main use. He is okay good. Oh yeah, stun and sleep, so are also debuffs, so he can recover them. So he is relatively good in terms of Kushinada, but if you're really good, if you're really careful, then and you have Izanamis and Romas and Gilgamesh, then you don't really need this guy. But if you're really beginning and you kind of want a good monster for Kushinada, then this guy's not bad. But even so, I think the Ascend version is better in terms of Kushinada either way. So no warp, no gravity barrier monster. Very good for Izanami stage. Kushinada, he's not the top pick in Kushinada and Izanami. And he doesn't really help in terms of outside of the ideal team. So if you don't have the ideal team, like 2 Margarets, 2 Napoleons, or whatever for Izanami, then and you need a really good no gravity barrier monster and no warp monster, then this guy's the better one outside of the meta, outside of the more recommended picks. And same thing goes for Kushinada as well. And then in terms of impossible he specializes in is Tsukuyomi. He is super useful in Tsukuyomi, just because he is a bounce, just because he's a no gravity barrier and he has a mob clearing strike shot, and then his proximity, close proximity spread shot 9 deals a lot of damage in that dungeon as well. But I think he is one of the better monsters. He's one of the top monsters even outside of these impossible dungeons. Extreme, in terms of extreme, he's very good for everything. Anything that Izanami can do, then he can do as well. And especially when you can't bring Izanami to a water stage, you can use Liu Bei Ascended Form for that, for those water stages as well. So a very good monster in my opinion, and he's still being used in JP. Really useful in JP as well. Now let's look at the Hatcher Extreme monsters. First stop, starting with Zhang Jiao. Let's look at the evolve form. She is a Demon Mancer, Pierce, Balance, and an ability of Beast Slayer M, and engage shot of no warp. Strike shot is a speed up power up and a drone, big damage to drone, so a drone breaking strike shot. And then bump combo is an EX laser L. Let's next look at the Ascend version. Still a Demon Mancer, Pierce, Balance, and no warp. And then strike shot is a command strike shot, and then it is a 16 turn. I'll talk more about that. EX laser L, and then spread shot L2. Now I do recommend Ascend for this girl, just because of the strike shot. Strike shot is a 16 turn command strike shot. You have to hit your allies, but there is one catch. It is on a lower cooldown, but it does not have any speed multipliers. So I'm not sure if it has any attack multipliers, but I doubt it will. But so she doesn't speed up, so it gets harder to hit your allies, unlike Roma, which speeds up really fast. I think Roma is like, I think Napoleon is like times 10 of her speed, but for her there's no speed multiplier for Zhang Jiao, so there's that difference. But she is better. She is really good for mob clearing, not just not dealing damage to the boss themselves. So 16 turn, really good for Kushina because you can use it twice on the last bar, just so that you can clear mobs on the first shot. Before that 19 turn one shot kill goes down, and then after, like when it's on the very last round, you can hit and you can use it to clear mobs as well, and then maybe do some damage. But like I said, that's only if you don't have the monsters that are not really viable for Kushinada, like Izanami's Roma and Gilgamesh. But I do recommend Zhang Jiao for Ascend, just because with Strict Shot. Next, Zhang Jiao. Evolve. He is a Fiend, Bounce, Power type, and then ability of Max Slayer L. Strike Shot is a Flame Strike Shot, just like Tengu, and then Vertical Laser L for the bump combo. Next, look at the Ascend. Fiend, Power type, and then Bounce, and then ability of Max Slayer and Concordi Slayer. That's Key and Tiger only, and then like the Savage level dungeons for that series. Strike Shot is a giant laser, and then bump combo is a flame, so basically the flame SS in bump combo form, and then special L2 for the sub. Now my recommendation for this, is not really use your turtles or pluses for this guy. I do have the Ascend version, but I hardly use them. I just ascended because I did have the extra Morlings and turtles for that. So if you're really tight with Morlings and turtles, then don't really use this guy. But if you're going for collection sakes, then go for the Ascend version, just because of the double Slayer uses. Not many uses, that's why there's not much point to it. There hasn't been any dungeons out in JP that he's really useful in them, especially because there's no abilities for both his forms, and he doesn't deal with gimmicks as well. So really, I don't really recommend even raising him. But if you actually going to raise him, then I do recommend the Ascend version, just for the fun flame bump combo. So it shoots a flame. It's not as big as the Strike Shot flame, but it's still okay, and it's the closest enemy, so it's kind of like a lock-on shockwave, not lock-on shockwave, a lock-on laser. Shoots to the closest enemy. So yeah, don't really recommend him. But if you're actually going for max luck, then go for Zhang Jiao. But in terms of max luck, Zhang Jiao is not that great in general, and her dungeon is not that easy, especially with max luck monsters. So kind of rundown of what the dungeons will look like in terms of Zhang Jiao. Zhang Jiao is Warps and Mines. I would recommend having both, a monster with both of those abilities, but there aren't really much in NA. There's only Zhang Fei right now that can deal with them. Of course, Low Lady and Kali are water monsters, so bringing those two in that dungeon is really suicidal. There is a giant ability lock attack from Zhang Jiao that, if you're not careful enough, can one-shot you depending on your positioning. There are conveyors on that dungeon as well. In terms of Zhang Jiao, mainly no damage walls. There are conveyors, but Zhang Jiao is just stack no damage wall monsters and it should be okay. The conveyors will help you speed up the process. There's Deneb, which is the evolved version of Deneb, which is a Fiend Slayer and a no damage wall monsters, and then you can basically bring a full team of farmable no damage wall monsters and it should be okay, as long as you have high HP and you don't get caught with his movements. His movement damage is really high, and if you're really close to him, then you'll take a lot of damage. So that's basically it for the Kindred Kingdoms. I hope you guys like this and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.